I'm a 22-year-old female, an avid nature photographer. I regularly go on hikes into the deep middle of woods and forests to catch the rarest beauties of nature. Anyway, I head out to this location I've been meaning to go to for a while. Some of my photography friends have been before and got stunning photos of deer, badgers, and various rare birds. I drove as far as I could before the woods started. I parked my car up in a lay-by, grabbed my tent, camera, supplies, and headed into the forest. It was quite misty, but the forecast said it would clear up overnight. I pitched my tent just far enough away not to disturb or scare the badgers, and went over to set up my camera. I had it facing so it would catch lots of the entrances in the same shot. I plugged it into the power pack and left it running. I had a motion sensor, so if it was to catch movement overnight, it would begin filming. The next morning I woke up and could see fresh trails around the den, so I knew I would have caught some badgers on camera. I was so excited. I tried to check the footage on my camera straight away, but both it and the power pack had died. And unusually, the power pack was no longer plugged into my camera. Weird. I was sure I'd plugged it in. I just hoped it had enough battery to catch the badgers on film. I would have felt gutted if I'd missed them. Nervous I'd messed up, I decided to head back to my car to charge up my camera and have a look at the pictures. I packed up everything and walked back to the car. The first video was of the badger den, but I couldn't see anything there. There must have been some movement that triggered the camera to begin recording, but I couldn't see anything within the shot. It was recorded at 2:30 a.m. After about 20 seconds of nothing, the recording stops. I flick to the next recording, and it's a photo of my tent. I flick to the next, and it's a photo of me alone, asleep, inside my tent. This was followed by about 40 more photos of me sleeping inside my tent. The final photo, taken at 5:30 a.m., about a half hour before I woke up, was a picture of my car. I could feel the fear rush over me. My hair stood up on the back of my neck. I began driving, and I drove as fast as I could. There was no signal and no one else was around for miles. I managed to get home safely. I still don't know who took the photos or why they were taken. I have not been camping since. I met with my friends at the end of the day as we had made plans to camp in the forest for the whole night. My parents didn't know about the plan me and my friends had made. I was planning to leave the house at about 12 a.m. and meet my friends at the gas station near the forest. It was roughly 11:55 p.m. The walk to the gas station took about 5 minutes. About 200 feet away from the gas station, I could already see my friends huddled up. When I arrived at the gas station, I greeted them. "Sup, Jay," said Michael with a slight smirk. I proceeded to then greet all my friends. We decided to enter the gas station to pick up some marshmallows and lighter fluid. After, we headed towards the trail that led into the forest. We could hear the sounds of owls hooting and the howls of coyotes. We walked for a good 10 minutes until we found a great flat area to set up the tents. We were pretty deep into the forest. We had 5 tents. It was decided that there was going to be 2 people per tent. I was assigned the job to start the fire and began looking for some wood. After finding 20 good pieces, I planted them in an upwards position. I doused the wood with lighter fluid and threw a lit match. Immediately after I did, a huge fire sparked. After all the tents were up, Kayla, my friend, suggested we sit around the fire and roast the marshmallows we had bought. I wasn't really hungry, so I didn't eat any. I don't know why, but I kept feeling patches of cold touching my neck. Every time it happened, I turned around just to see the tall trees that towered over us. I decided not to tell anyone, not wanting to worry them or ruin the vibe. My friend Gabe had bought a couple packs of beers with his fake ID. I agreed to drink a couple of beers, hoping that it would ease me a bit. It was now really late. We all agreed that we should get into the tents. Michael was the person I had to share the tent with. I decided not to put out the fire, thinking it would provide us with heat and protection from the animals. After I fell asleep, I heard a sound from the tent. I thought it was my mind playing games with me. Trying to fall asleep, I heard the same sound again. This time it was louder. I decided to tap Michael on the shoulder to ask him if he had also heard it. "Hey, wake up," I said while tapping him on the shoulder. "What?" he said with a tired look on his face. "Did you hear that?" I said. "No, you had a few beers, remember?" He then fell asleep. What he said was true, as I did have a couple more beers than I had originally planned. I had never been drunk before. This is probably what it felt like, I thought. I finally fell asleep, but then I woke up again. This time a loud crack. It sounded like a tree had snapped. Startled, I reached over for Michael to ask him if he had heard that. He wasn't there. I thought he had probably gone out to pee, so I opened the tent. I peeked my head out trying to look for Michael. I noticed that the large fire was now non-existent. After fully coming out of the tent, still searching for Michael, I called out his name. He didn't answer. I yelled his name again. Nothing. I went to the tent that was next to me and Michael's. I opened it. No one was there. I then went to the tent that was next to that one, and no one was there. After checking every tent, no one was in them. I then heard a low hum followed by the scream of Michael's voice. He yelled out a cry for help, then silence. I noticed his yell came from the west side of the forest. Moving my head to the direction I heard the yell come from, I saw something that still haunts me to this day. It was big, very big, bigger than the 40-foot trees that flooded the forest. It had large glowing red eyes and long, slim arms. Frightened, I grabbed my backpack and started running. I ran as fast as I could. The weight of the bag was holding me back. I dropped it while running, and at that moment my life was more precious than my phone or anything in that bag. As soon as I had run roughly 20 feet, I heard that thing start knocking over trees while chasing me. Too scared to look back, I kept running. After a good minute of running, which felt like an hour, I guess it stopped chasing me. I didn't hear the trees falling over anymore. I was sure as hell not going to stop running just because of that. I kept running at a pretty good pace until I made it to the end of the trail. I ran to the gas station and asked the old man for a phone. I called the police. After arriving on the scene, they went into the forest to try and find my friends. It has now been 10 years since this happened. I don't live in that town anymore. My parents still do. After multiple manhunts, my friends still haven't been found. I'm also pretty sure that the thing that killed them is still alive.